We love to talk about the majesty of nature, but let's be entirely honest. Evolution does not always produce a masterpiece. Sometimes, natural selection drinks half a bottle of tequila, forgets to check its math, and ships a creature with a physical design so aggressively flawed it reads like a late-night joke drawn up on a napkin. Here are 8 animals that prove nature, occasionally, lets the unpaid intern handle the blueprints. 1. The giant panda, the carnivore on a salad diet. Pandas are classified as carnivores. Their digestive tract is physically built to process meat, fat, and bone. But somewhere along the line, they collectively decided they were vegetarians and switched exclusively to bamboo, a woodsy plant with absolutely zero nutritional density. Because their bodies can barely break it down, a panda has to sit still and chew for up to 16 hours a day just to scrape by. They are so physically exhausted by their own terrible lifestyle choices that they have completely lost the passion to mate. If you put 2 pandas in a room, they are far more likely to accidentally fall asleep on each other than propagate the species. They are actively trying to exit the stage, and humanity is keeping them on life support purely because they look like big, fluffy pillows. They won't even help themselves. If a baby panda crawls away, the mother sometimes forgets she even had one because she's too busy staring blankly at a piece of bamboo. It is a miracle they made it out of the Stone Age. 2. The Babirusa, the self-destructing pig. If you want to see a design flaw that feels like a literal ancient curse, look at the Babirusa, a wild pig native to the muddy swamps of Indonesia. The males grow upper tusks that don't grow downward out of their mouths like a normal wild boar. Instead, the teeth pierce straight up through the skin of their own snouts and curve backward toward their foreheads like a pair of demonic handlebars. If a Babirusa lives a long, healthy life and doesn't wear those tusks down by constantly rubbing them against rough tree bark, the teeth will literally keep growing in a slow, agonizing circle until they pierce its own skull and kill it. Nature handed this animal a slow-motion countdown attached right to its face, rewarding its survival with a self-inflicted injury. 3. The Kakapo, the bird that forgot it's a bird. Meet the Kakapo, a giant, heavy parrot from New Zealand that behaves less like a bird and more like a confused, clumsy toddler wearing a green tracksuit. Because it evolved on an isolated island without any natural predators, it completely forgot how to fly, its main defense mechanism when startled. Freezing perfectly still and hoping the danger goes away on its own. When people introduced cats and weasels to the island, the Kakapos basically lined up to become dinner. To make matters worse, their breeding season is a total circus. The male digs a shallow hole in the dirt, sits in it, and makes a deep booming sound to attract a mate. Unfortunately, the sound echoes so badly that the male completely forgets where his own hole is, and he often ends up trying to romance rocks, low-hanging tree branches, or passing hikers instead of an actual female Kakapo. 4. The koala, brain dead on toxic leaves. Koalas are an absolute logistical disaster. They eat eucalyptus leaves, which are highly toxic, contain almost no calories, and taste like medicated cough drops. To handle this terrible diet, their brains have actually shrunk over thousands of years until they are completely smooth and take up barely any space inside their skulls. A smooth brain means absolutely zero critical thinking skills. If you pluck eucalyptus leaves off a tree and put them on a flat plate right in front of a koala, it will stare at them blankly and starve to death. It literally does not recognize its only food source unless it is physically attached to a branch. If it rains, they don't even have the sense to hide under a large leaf. They just sit there getting soaked, looking like a wet, miserable gym sock stuck to a tree trunk. 5. The ocean sunfish, aka mola mola, a floating concrete slab. The ocean sunfish is a massive 3-ton swimming accident. It looks like a toddler took a drawing of a giant, majestic fish, cut it entirely in half with safety scissors, and threw away the back end. It doesn't have a real tail fin, which means it is physically incapable of swimming in a straight line. It just drifts aimlessly wherever the ocean currents push it, flailing its tiny side fins like a panicked guide trying to wave down a taxi. If a bored sea lion swims up, it will literally chew the fins off a sunfish for entertainment and leave the rest behind. The sunfish can't even fight back, bite, or speed away. It just floats there with a permanent expression of mild existential confusion, waiting to become an oversized buffet. 6. The sloth, a walking bathroom hazard. Sloths move so slowly that green algae literally grows on their fur, turning them into walking moss beds. But their real biological oversight is how they process food. It takes a sloth up to a full month to digest a single meal of leaves. Because their internal engine is running slower than a tractor in mud, they can only afford to go to the bathroom once a week. The catch, they refuse to do it from the safety of the trees. They climb all the way down to the dangerous forest floor, losing up to 1/3 of their total body weight in a single sitting. This bizarre weekly bathroom trip is so exhausting and leaves them so completely exposed to predators that over half of all sloth deaths happen while they are just trying to find a spot to relieve themselves. As if that wasn't enough, there's also a rumor that sloths sometimes sit still for so long that, when they finally decide to move, they grab their own arm, mistake it for a branch, and fall to their deaths. A true marvel of evolution. 7. The secretary bird, high heels and snakes. The secretary bird looks less like a ruthless apex predator and more like a high-fashion supermodel that took a wrong turn into the African savanna. It has incredibly long, slender legs that look like it's walking around in invisible 6-inch stilettos, complete with dramatic black feathers that resemble a pair of tight bike shorts. While most birds of prey hunt by swooping down elegantly from the clouds, the secretary bird prefers to hunt on foot, marching through the tall grass looking like a stressed-out parent trying to find a lost kid at a theme park. When it finds its favorite meal, a highly venomous cobra, its grand strategy isn't to use its beak or sharp talons. Instead, it literally stands over the snake and aggressively stomps it to death. It kicks with 5 times its own body weight in a split second, essentially playing a high-stakes, real-life game of Dance Revolution with a deadly reptile. If it misses its footing just once, it gets bitten on those long, bare legs. It's game over. It's an incredibly stressful, dangerous way to grab lunch when you literally have wings and could just fly away. 8. The Irish elk, overdecorated to extinction. Though they are now long gone, the Irish elk deserves a spot on the wall of shame for having the most embarrassing evolutionary cause of death in history. The males developed massive antlers to impress the females during the mating season. Unfortunately, the female deer kept picking the guys with the biggest racks, and the antlers eventually grew to span up to 12 feet across, weighing over 80 pounds. Imagine trying to walk around your neighborhood with 2 heavy wooden park benches permanently glued to the sides of your head. When the climate shifted and thick, dense forests grew over their open fields, these poor deer couldn't run away from wolves because they kept getting violently wedged between 2 oak trees. They literally disappeared from the earth because their pickup lines were too heavy for their necks to carry. Imagine if humans operated this way. If a guy named Frank from the neighborhood grew a mustache so long it wrapped around his throat and choked him, we would call it a tragedy. But in the animal kingdom, that's just a regular Tuesday. Nature is a beautiful, majestic force, but it's comforting to know that even the earth itself drops the ball every now and then. If you like this type of videos, please consider hitting like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.